The informal work session is called to order. Clerk will call the roll.
Dr. Estrop,
Here.
Mr. O'Neill,
Here.
Mrs. Brown,
Here.
Mr. Rue,
Here.
Mr. Copeland.
Here. Mr. Manager.
Yes, Commission, we have one work session item tonight, and with us today is the Director of United Senior Services, Maureen Fagans, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about what United Senior Services is up to, but also about their upcoming levy that's on the ballot in November.
Thank you. Oh, it is on. Okay. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, commissioners. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you about United Senior Services and this levy. I will work very hard to keep my comments brief. As you know, it's hard to talk about the levy without talking about United Senior Services, so I'll start there. United Senior Services, and I will abbreviate and call it USS, is a private nonprofit organization. We were organized as Elderly United back in 1968, and in fact, many people still call us Elderly United. Our mission is to enhance the lives of older adults in Clark County by offering quality services that promote active, involved lifestyles and independent living. That's been our mission since 1968, and we've not wavered from it. Our services are focused on the addresses many of the social determinants of health, and our activities are focused on wellness. We recognize that the ability to help people maintain and improve their health in all aspects is a much healthier proposition for later in life. So, one of the things that I like to start with, I went too far, didn't I? Is that in our community and in every community across the nation, the older population is growing. Now, we don't see this as a problem. We see this as an opportunity to make change, and it's an opportunity to help people live long, independent lives for as long as possible, and to provide people the support they need in order to do so. This graphic demonstrates the growth in the older adult population here in Clark County. You're looking at the yellow indicates that 55 plus here in our county. By 2025, we expect 33%. We're hovering right under 33% today. 55 plus is total of our total population, 33% of our total population. By 2030, all things remaining the same, we'll be closer to 37%, at which time it starts to level out and plateau. But for many years, we're going to continue to have this very large older adult population here in Clark County. So what that means for us is that there's more opportunity and more need. Of course, many of us in the room, we're living this. We know that we're a growing population. We know here in Clark County that poverty is above average, and we recognize that 12% of that poverty and 12% of that population living in poverty are older adults. Chronic health issues are above the state and national averages here in Clark County, and elder abuse, neglect, and financial exploitation is growing. Bad guys are mighty smart. If only they would put those brains to good use instead. But it's a growing issue in our community and across the nation. And there's a real emphasis on family caregiving at home. That and the needs of those family caregivers is growing. People want to stay at home as long as possible, and family caregiving is one of the means to do so. As we emerge from the pandemic, loneliness and isolation has really taken a toll on our total population, but as in our industry, we see how the toll it's taken on the older adult. And we also recognize that with isolation and loneliness, we see cognitive as well as physical health changes as a result, a decrease in physical health and in brain health. So, also, more need, more services. This past year, we had 4,700 55 plus Clark Countyans register and join United Senior Services as members. In addition to those 4,700 people who became members at USS, We also helped over 4,000 people in Clark County with service delivery. So that's about 20% of the eligible population in our community that we know we're touching in some way. Over 80% of the United Senior Services budget is dedicated to services, and 34% of our total budget is focused on meal services. And that includes in-home meals, but it's also dining room meals. Our centers are plenty busy. 4,700 people are using our centers, and here in order of priority are what they're using them for. And this is a change post-pandemic. We used to be a center for lots of passive socialization. Now our number one activities are exercise classes, using our equipped fitness room, and aquatic. So people are focused on maintaining and improving their health. Our budget allocations, and this is where we start looking at our levy. As you can see over the years, that levy has been important to us. It has hovered somewhere between 55 and 60% of our total budget. And our grants have been, our federal, state, and local grants have been approximate anywhere between 26 to 32, 34% of our total budget. The rest of it, rest of our budget, the yellow and the up at the top are donations and gifts and other kinds of contributions. So this is another abbreviated slide that I like to show, but it indicates our average annual cost to deliver those three core services that we are known for: meals, in-home care, and transportation. When we add those per person costs up, and we come up with a figure of about approximately $3,800 per person, helps us keep someone in their home a little longer. $3,800 per person is what it costs us to provide that complement of services. I like to show that because that's an annual cost, and I like to compare it against the cost of other kinds of residential living for older people. So if you were using a full-time adult day center, you might expect to pay up to $16,000 a year. If you're living in an assisted living apartment, and these are Clark County numbers in 2022, approximately $63,000 a year would be your cost. And of course, nursing homes or long-term cares are even more expensive. So when we compare the cost, and when a taxpayer compares what it costs to help somebody maintain their independence, even if it's only for 1 or 2 more years, the cost savings to your family, to your own personal assets, and then if you're exhaust those assets, then the cost to taxpayers in Medicaid costs, it's pretty lopsided. It's a good economic value, is what I'm saying. I also wanted to mention that in 2022, we did a very robust community survey of people who are 55 years or better and living still in their own homes privately, in their own private residence. And these were the 5-6 top survey priorities that emerged from that study. Home maintenance, modifications, and repairs is number 1 on the list. People want to be able to stay in their homes as long as possible, and they recognize that there are some things they're not able to do themselves any longer. Number 2 was they want USS to be a trusted resource for services. They want someone that they call and say, who should I let into my home? And they trust us to provide that answer. And, honestly, that gives me a little anxiety. But the reality is I applaud people for being cautious. Third among our survey respondents was recreation and socialization. They recognize isolation. This was top of mind for a lot of people because we've just emerged from a pandemic. Fourth was housekeeping and personal care services. Fifth was transportation, what happens when I give up the car keys. And sixth was services for family caregivers. In fact, we had a 10% response rate to this community survey, and it was all Clark County, it was the whole Clark County was represented. 32% of our respondents said that they are a family caregiver. They're either full-time or part-time providing care to a loved one. So that's significant. So this is where the levy comes in. We know there's more of us. We know there's more need, and we recognize there's more services needed. So we're asking voters, every 5 years we ask voters to please support the senior service levy. This is a countywide levy. It's a renewal of 1.4 mil, and it's for senior services and facilities. The cost to the owner of a $100,000 home, and this is the auditor's appraised value, this is not market value, but if the auditor has appraised your home at $100,000, you should expect to pay approximately $49 a year in this senior service tax. Now, what does this mean? It means there's no new tax, there's no increased tax for senior services. We reach all areas of Clark County in service delivery and in membership and use of our centers. And our mission has been the same since 1968 today, and we hope for a long time to come. So just some information. We have John Dietrich and Hattie Millender are our committee chairs this cycle, and Daryl Kitchen, our treasurer. The ballot language is convoluted, but the good news is that the title is Elderly United of Springfield and Clark County, doing business as United Senior Services, and it's a renewal. I thank you for your time. I'm glad to answer any questions, and I'm hoping that the commission can endorse our levy and that I can say once more that I hope the Clark County community will support senior services at the ballot box in November. Thank you.
Astrop.
Thank you. Maureen, thank you so much. USS does a great job for many people in Springfield and Clark County. And I just can't say enough. Obviously, as you know, I'm a member. I participate in those services, but so do a lot of other people. And I think Clark County is very fortunate to have an organization like this serving the seniors of this county and this community. So thank you very, very much. And I would be happy to endorse it.
Thank you, David.
Do a great job. My wife and I is concerned, since I'll qualify for membership in a year. Do you have childcare? Because I have a 7-year-old. I still have a young one, so
You know, you're not the only one that has asked that question.
I thought I was the only one. You do a great job, really do.
Thank you. Well, you're a great supporter. We appreciate it.
Anything else?
Maureen, when you talk about how long it has been there, you moved once, but that's okay. It has been, a testimony to the community, quite frankly. I don't think your levy has ever failed.
No, it has not.
And
But
that
until
is
those votes are
testimony to
counted,
your
it's,
dedication.
thank you.
But I remember when Mrs. Pitzer and everybody got started, I never dreamt how it could get any better at that time. Now just look down the street. And, I was in just the other day and I joined, what can I tell you? But that's okay. Estrop made me do it. But congratulations, you've done a great job.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hey, Dr. Estrop.
Would a motion be in order at this
Sure.
time? Well, I would like to move that the City Commission of the City of Springfield endorses the United Senior Service Levy renewal.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mrs. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Rue,
Yes.
Dr. Estrop,
Yes?
Mr. Copeland.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Do any?
Commissioners, that is the only item we have for work session, so we can adjourn and go into the formal meeting.
Is there, I thought we already adjourned. Anybody want to adjourn?
Moved. Second?
Then move and second. Clerk will call the roll.
Sorry, I was talking to Jill Allen. What was the motion?
We just adjourned the hearing.
Oh,
to
to
adjourn
adjourn.
the
I
hearing.
apologize for that. I'll call the roll. Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mrs. Brown,
Yes.
Dr. Estrop,
Yes.
Mr. Rue,
Yes.
Mr. Copeland.
Well, I have here something from Jill that I'm supposed to say something like, I adjourn. So I vote for that.
Okay.
So the meeting of the city commission is called to order. The clerk will do the roll call.
Yes, sir. Dr. Estrop,
Here?
Mr. O'Neill,
Here.
Mrs. Brown,
Here.
Mr. Rue,
Here.
Mr. Copeland.
Here, please rise for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Our God, we ask for your guidance this evening for us to make decisions for this city of Springfield. Help us to listen well and to vote with our hearts and our heads. In your name we pray. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the
United States of America,
and
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Your motion to approve the minutes of our last meeting.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Rue,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mrs. Brown,
Yes.
Dr. Estrop,
Yes.
Mr. Copeland.
Yes. Clerk will proceed with first readings by title only.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a purchase agreement with Bob Evans Transportation Company, LLC, for the sale of certain real property located at the corner of Air Park Drive and Greenfield Drive, also known as Air Park, Ohio, Lot 15. And I will make a note that there was an incorrect amount in the ordinance that we published, and that amount should be $248,500. Confirming and approving the amendment of ordinance number 23-145, which authorized the acceptance of a firefighter exposure to environmental elements grant from the Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation to revise the local matching expenditure. Amending ordinance number 9190, passed March 12, 1991, and commonly known as the codified ordinances of the city of Springfield, Ohio, by repealing and replacing section 149.04 entitled Donation. Authorizing the issuance of a purchase order for the purchase of traffic signal equipment from Pathmaster for an amount not to exceed $78,166. Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract for well pump cleaning and rehabilitation at the water treatment plant with National Water Services for a period of 6 years for an amount not to exceed $930,620 for the 6-year period.
Any questions on first readings?
Yes, I have a couple. Item number 124-23. Mr. Heck, how much is the local match for that?
I'll actually ask if Chief King wants to speak to that item, the firefighter exposure grant.
On this one specifically, it was one that we've already accepted. The difference was the calculation on our portion. So it was the $61 additional on top of what we had originally said.
Great.
Just for transparency, because it was a motion and approved by the commission, we thought it was appropriate that it was out for the entire community to see that we're tracking even down to $61 from us.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
I'd also like to ask in terms of the next item, item 250-23, what are the major changes in the codified ordinances that are being made in terms of donation?
Yes, Commissioners. So one major change that was previously the donation amount the city could receive without getting commission authorization or action was $1,000. That was set in 1988, so been some time, and so we are adjusting that number to 10,000. So that if we receive items and/or a donation, dollar donation in an amount up to 10,000 that does not require commission action, we can accept that, but anything over that will still come to commission.
Great. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we move to take it off, right? Take item 6723 off the table.
I would move to take item 067-23, tabled at the April 11th meeting, from the table for second reading.
Second.
And move and seconded. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Rube?
No.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Yes, right?
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes. So we've taken off the table. Now do we have to vote on it?
We'll go ahead and read that next item.
You gotta read it.
Okay.
Approving an amendment to the existing CC2A District Development Plan for 4.93 acres at the corner of St. Paris Pike and St. Paris Connector to modify the planned building layout.
So moved.
Second.
And move and seconded. Clerk will call the roll.
No, there's
Yep.
comment.
Yep, we'll have conversation.
I have comments. Is this, does this have to do with the same plot at St. Paris Connector? There's been work done there, I believe. There's a hotel being built?
Yes, that is correct. So this is the St. Paris Connector, remaining area of Bechtel Avenue to be developed, bounded by Bechtel and the St. Paris Connector. This is related to the triangle piece that's up there. Yes, infrastructure work has begun. You probably saw an article in the paper about the one project, the hotel that's been approved and advancing forward. The item that was tabled back in April relates specifically to a proposed car wash on the corner of the connector and North Bechtel Avenue. I know Wadehi is here and prepared with the staff report that was presented that night and can at least run through that if it would be a good refresher for the
I'd
commission.
appreciate that.
Have all the conditions that the commission identified been met?
Yes, Commissioners, back at that meeting when it was tabled, there were 5 conditions that were discussed by or brought up by the commission that had to be met. And I do know that they've have been addressed and worked on. The trash is an ongoing issue. Needs to continue to be looked at, both in the kind of the ditch around this property and the vacant parcels of this property. But for the most part, the 4 of the 5 issues are totally rectified.
Just to be clear, this was Dr. Estrop's objective to put conditions on this particular area. I don't think this is a unanimous commission thought at the time. So I know Dr. Estrop was trying to, be diplomatic in doing this, but I didn't feel like, I'm not going to agree with this tonight. Uday's going to go ahead and remind us what this is. This is a poor use of that corner. We have a nice hotel going up. Now we're going to put in yet another car wash on there if we vote in favor of this. So anyway, Uday, please.
I'll give a quick background. As mentioned in the previous staff report, there is a car wash proposed at the subject parcel. A previous amendment to the parcel was approved in December of 2021, and where the hotel was discussed on the east portion of the site. The current plan is proposing car wash and a restaurant in the remaining western portion of parcel. The analysis shows that the proposed amendment will create another automobile-oriented use along Bechtel Avenue. And as the shopping district is primarily planned for shopping centers, uses such as restaurants, theaters, offices, retail, for personal or household consumption are what were recommended. Furthermore, the north entryway or gateway to the Springfield community hopes to house different kinds of uses other than an automobile-oriented use, such as gas station or car wash. And in the staff comments, City Manager's Office had recommended denial. as well as planning and zoning, had also recommended denial, stating that the car wash is not the best use for the land or the parcel.
So,
And
just to interrupt you, so you're saying that the city staff and the planning board have both denied this proposal, am I right?
so the planning board had recommended approval. The votes were
Right.
4-2.
They were fine with this, the planning board was?
Yeah.
Okay. I know others are excited about this up here, but I'm telling you, you're getting ready to put a car wash in front of a nice hotel. I mean, it just seems ridiculous to me. Go ahead.
I'd like to make a couple of comments also. I'm only going to refer to the guy that's building that nice hotel. He's in favor of it, of the car wash being right there with him. He sent a letter in response to the objections and said he looks forward to working with them and having it there.
Wadehi, did you say a car wash and restaurant? Or was it?
Yes, so to the north of the car wash or to the side of the car wash, there's a restaurant shown, but they haven't provided any plans or details about those. The current amendment is only for the car wash.
Thank
The
you.
idea is we could have a restaurant there, but if they don't like the way the rest of the properties develop, we won't have a restaurant. Is that a thought?
That would be up to the developer to
Right.
decide on.
We have waited and waited and waited for this property to be developed. We have looked at gas stations, we've looked at automobile dealership, we've looked at a number of different things and nothing happened. The property sat there vacant. So from my perspective, to have another hotel in our community to serve the people who visit Springfield is a real plus.
Agree.
And I'm pleased with that development. And if in fact the hotel developer, Scarlet and Gray, supports the addition of a car wash, I see no reason to oppose it. Of the two, frankly, the hotel is a greater priority than the car wash. But if the hotel doesn't object to it, why should I? So I will be supporting this.
Anybody
And
else?
by the way, we've got the developer to do everything that he ultimately committed us to do, all 5 things, which he hadn't done before,
For 20 to 30
have
years.
been done.
Anyone else? Is there a motion on the table? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mrs. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Rue.
No.
Dr. Edstrom,
Yes,
Mr. Copeland.
Yes.
And Beckville continues.
Vacating 4 feet off the west side of Central Avenue between the north line of East Pleasant Street and the south line of the DT&I Railroad.
so moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? Anyone in the audience want to speak to this? Clerk will call the roll. I'm
Please,
sorry, you
please.
don't just talk. If you want to talk, you have to go to the, okay? Everybody else has to too. Okay,
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Edstrom?
Yes,
Mr. Copeland?
yes.
Vacating the first alley north of East Lansdowne Avenue from Superior Avenue East to the first north-south intersecting alley.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? Anyone in the audience want to speak to this? Clerk will call the roll.
Dr. Edstrom?
yes,
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Vacating the first alley west of South Claremont Avenue from Elmwood Avenue South to the first east-west intersecting alley.
So moved.
second,
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Dr. Edstrom?
yes,
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Approving an amendment to the existing OPDH development plan for 4.355 acres at 1315 West High Street, Springfield, Ohio, in a G Green Space Park and School District, RM12 Low Density Multifamily Residence District, and OPDH Plan Development Housing Overlay District.
So moved.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? Yes. Wait, he goes first.
You're-
Then I'll call on you.
I would like, we could to have Shannon Meadows give us a little more information about this development.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I'll actually ask Waidehi to speak to the OPDH that's before you, but just background on the development. This site was rezoned to be multifamily residential by the property owner a number of years ago. Rose Commons is a proposed 40-unit multifamily residential to be built kind of what I call at the bottom part of the old Clark Middle School site. It will be funded with private dollars as well as state of Ohio tax credit. And the commission heard and supported also funding for it from home dollars as well.
Thank you.
Waidehi, do you want to give just a brief on the you want the OPDH? Yeah.
So the OPDH is a housing overlay which gives flexibility in the design and layout of the units as shown by the slide. It gives flexibility on the setback, the height, and the number of units that the site can accommodate. That's what the overlay is for.
Thank you.
Anything else from commissioners? Now you may speak.
Thank you, Mayor Copeland. Deb McClendon, 1219 West Jefferson Street. I have a couple questions. September 28th, this was in the paper. There was to be a teleconference pertaining to the Rose Commons development and bonding. And so I did phone that on October 5th at 11 o'clock, and I listened to everything they had going on in Ohio, but nothing for Springfield. And when he finished, he said, "How can I help you?" And I said, "Well, I'm here to get information pertaining to this Rose Commons." And he said that wouldn't happen until November 10th. So I know we're having the second reading tonight, but it sounds like this is unfinished business that might need to go before there's a second reading and a vote. But that's not really what I'm here to say. My concern is, did you say 12 or 20? Because I thought it was 40 units for these apartments.
It's a 40-unit project. The zoning classification is RM12, which allows for up to 12 units per acre. So it's
Right.
actually under the amount that it
Because
would
there's
be allowed on this
4.3.
site.
Okay. Well, I'm wanting to know, are these 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom? How many square feet?
This development itself is a 2 and 3 bedroom development. And I don't remember the square footage. I think it's 900 and 1,200 square feet.
Okay. And any garages to be built with these?
This will have surface parking.
All right. That answers the next question. Where will the parking be? I noticed it looks like very lightly in the overlay that there's parking enough for, 60, 70 cars?
Yes, as shown in the plan, the parking is shown all around the back of the building.
The back of the building, which would be the hillside?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm wondering, since we're having 2 and 3 bedrooms and it's low to medium income, that there's probably going to be a lot of children. And I'm wondering, is there any green space or playground area for these kids, or are they just going to be running the street?
There is some landscaping provided in the front, and the back of the site is kind of a rolling hill. It's a green space that the developer may develop in the future.
Okay. But nothing is really planned, no playground, there's just some trees and some green space. Oh, okay, the next question would be, again, with the children, are these kids that are going to be living there, are they going to be going to Snow Hill, or will these be Fulton kids? How is that going to be handled?
Those are that would be
Fulton students, well, that's a good thing because we don't want them having to go across tracks in those 4-lane highways. All right, now, the next thing, all these people moving in, we don't have a grocery store in the West End anymore. And what are we going to do about that? We can't have people just trying to walk all the way to Kroger or dealing with dollar stores. Is there plans for something in the future, near future, for a new grocery? You've got an empty grocery sitting there at Park Plaza.
The developer is here to answer any questions further.
I'm in on the grocery. I mean, we're an affordable housing developer. I'm the vice president of development with Woda Cooper Companies, Inc. What often happens with our developments is when you have more density that occurs on an underutilized parcel, such as this case here, is that the investment follows the investment. So while there might not be a grocery store nearby, what this is going to do ultimately is encourage and facilitate further investment to occur along that corridor. So potentially it could lead to a grocery store, but I can't promise anything like that since that's not our prerogative.
Right, I was mainly addressing these gentlemen and ladies. The next thing I wanted to bring up is that anybody who's traveled down West High Street in the 1300 block, 1200 block, we've got 3 houses boarded up, fallen down. We've got one that has caught fires, now boarded up. You know what West High Street looks like. It's in bad shape. And now we're going to have basically low income. And I'm wanting to know, is that HUD? Or how is that going to be? What is the ceiling for being able to live in these apartments?
So it's going to serve 30% area median gross income up to 80% area median gross income. In terms of the financing, it's low-income housing tax credits. Specifically, though, to your question about HUD, there are 8 project-based rental assistance vouchers at the property. That's a HUD funding source.
Okay. All right, well, the rest are just comments. And I think I'm speaking for all of the West End folks that are here tonight. You know, we already have Gray Hill Apartments, which is basically low income. We have homeless that are living there now as well. And it just seems like it's such a depressed area, and we're going to be bringing in more people who have had trouble. They're low income. They're struggling. Do we really need something like this at this particular site? And I think ultimately we're kind of worried that this could turn out to be the next Ronez Apartments. I would really like to see somebody vote no for this. Thank you for listening.
Yes.
Can I just respond to that just real quick? Woda Cooper, we're vertically integrated, development, general contractor, and manager. On this project specifically, we are the general contractor and the property manager. I understand there might be some concerns of the community. However, we are not strangers to this community. We did develop, build, and we currently manage Hayden House. So I would appreciate that being taken into consideration when the vote occurs. We're not strangers here. We're long-term owners of affordable housing, and we make commitments that we stand behind. So I feel confident, as does everyone else at WODA, this will be a valuable asset for the community.
Anyone else? If you're going to speak, you have to go to the microphone so everybody can hear.
Hi, my name's Darla. When you say affordable housing, how much are we talking there? 200,000 or 100,000?
Speak into the microphone, would you?
What is the price for these?
These are market rate rentals, so they're not for sale. They're rental properties. He had stated between 30% and 80% AMI. I think he's figuring up what that is as far as rents. But they are, I just want to be clear, they are rentals, not owner-occupied
Not owner.
units.
So, okay, so what would be the rent? Because I noticed a lot of these houses in Springfield are going anywhere from $700 to $1,400 a month. That's not affordable.
Yeah, I'm guessing that these are probably lower than that, but
So the net rent here on a 2-bedroom, you'd be looking at $379 up to $895 would be the rent. And on the 3 bedrooms, it's $428 up to $1,000.
So to answer your question, yeah, it's going to be like a Ronez with the crime.
Name and address for the record.
Hi, Diana Daniels. I'm out on 40 Hedgley Road. And I'm going to address a concern that Deb brought up because both of us have been deeply involved with child development through our entire professional careers. And I think it would be more widely received if this property were more fleshed out with the understanding that there's going to be a lot of children who are going to need to have dedicated recreational space rather than just throwing your hands up in the air and going, oh, well, we have a little bit of grass and some trees. That ought to be good enough. That is not good enough for a child. To flesh out this property a little bit more and include those things would, I think, for folks on the West End, which I travel through, and for myself as an educator, I'm really concerned for the children. I mean, I look at Rones, same idea. Those kids don't have anything to do, and what they do, it causes trouble. You've got to provide an opportunity for the kids that are there, the children that will potentially be in those apartments, to stay there and play. So I think from a development part, that when you're looking at something, when you're saying multi-family, that those be included in your plans, because we're not just talking people, we're talking kids, and they need so much more than just a bed and a roof and a couple of windows.
I just, from a staff perspective, I want to remind everybody that we're working on the OPDH overlay, so we wouldn't be looking at playgrounds for zoning. But I am certain, so that is what's in front of us, and that's the map that you have in front of you. But I will ask the developer if you'd like to respond to recreational opportunities.
So it's very hard to see on the aerial. Just to clarify one thing, there is a playground next to the property. It's on the right side there where the shrubbery is.
I'm still not buying it. I really am not. I've been over that property. That's where the kids sled ride, and I'm just really not buying it.
Shannon, can you tell me how many units Rones Apartments have in the north end of Springfield? How many hundred we have?
It's over 120.
Not 40, right?
No, sir.
So you can't compare Rones to a 40 unit.
No, sir. A part of the community development's goals and objectives that align with the city commission's goals and objectives is to work to develop affordable housing throughout the community in an unconcentrated manner.
I know.
And commissioners, I'll just add on that comparison of Rones to this. It's about the management partner that we have. I will say even Rones, a new management group has gone in there. They have made investments to it. We don't have near the issues, the call for service that we previously had for that area. It is about the management partners. So having people that are vested in the best interests of our community is important.
I think this meets definitely the goals and objectives that's already been said. The idea of having a facility like this, apartment unit, is so we combat future displaced individuals. So folks that have an opportunity to pay and have affordable housing can have that. If we don't have these, then we'll have other issues like we've already seen in the past, increased displaced individuals and possible tent cities and things like that we don't ever want to see again. This is a part of the plan. This is a part of bettering Springfield, and I think it's a good project.
Anyone else? What? Go ahead.
Commissioner Rue said exactly what I was thinking. The developer has to follow fair housing. We need space for children. Springfield is a city that was originally built with the idea of green space, and we have plenty of it here. We just haven't brought in enough of the tax base to maintain it like we need to.
Correct.
This being brought in is going to help, like Commissioner Rue brought up, the tent cities we have. This is actually going to be a benefit for our neighborhood. It's scary. People are afraid because we've had bad experiences, and I'm grateful that you're here and you're voicing them. But this really will be a benefit. Thank you.
Anyone else? Clerk will call the roll.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop,
Yes.
Mr. Copeland,
Yes. Where are we now, Jill?
Well, we are on, the next item is authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Rumpke of Ohio Incorporated for the city's 2023 collection of fall bag leaves program for an amount not to exceed $74,520.
So moved. Second.
And moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mr. Rue,
Yes.
Mrs. Brown,
Yes.
Dr. Estrop,
Yes.
Mr. Copeland,
Yes.
confirming and approving the acceptance of a donation from City Electric Supply of 300 smoke detectors valued at $7 each for a total of $2,100.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission?
I know I asked this at the first reading, but again, what will happen with these donated smoke detectors? How will they be used? And I also want to take this opportunity to thank City Electric Supply for making this donation. So,
Yeah, Jacob, if you want to explain how we'll use them as part of our educational programming.
Yes, sir. Thank you. If you listen to our Chief Chat podcast from today, people can go back to the city Facebook site and take a look at it. Me and Assistant Chief Brian Lejeski described at multiple events over this month, being that this week is Fire Prevention Week, where we heavily focus specifically on our theme for the year, which is home cooking safety. But we will be out at a lot of trunk or treat and trick or treat events here in the city. And we'll be giving these detectors out to our citizens.
giving them away.
Yes, sir.
Excellent. So people can take them home, install them, and be safe.
We also offer to install them as well if they need it. So if there is anyone out there that receives these or unable to install them or would like to call us, they can call in or utilize our website to submit a ticket to request us to contact them for installing smoke detectors.
What number, Chief, should they call?
It's 324-7405.
Repeat it slowly, please.
937-324-7405.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else?
7605, I just want to.
Thank you. 7605.
Thank you.
I'm glad. At least you know my number.
Anyone else? Clerk will call the roll.
Mrs. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mr. Rue,
Yes.
Dr. Estrop,
Yes.
Mr. Copeland,
Yes.
consenting to the resurfacing of State Route 68 from mile marker 4.43 to 15.04 within the city of Springfield by the Ohio Department of Transportation, PID number 109773, providing for the maintenance of the right-of-way and authorizing the city manager to enter into agreements with the Director of Transportation of the state of Ohio necessary to complete the project.
Who do not?
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Dr. Estrop,
Yes.
Mrs. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Rue,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mr. Copeland,
Yes.
confirming and approving change order number 3 to the contract between the city and Peterson Construction Company for the primary effluent pumps replacement and electrical upgrades project to increase the contract in an amount not to exceed $13,255 for a total amount not to exceed $7,709,638 and to extend the project completion date to December 31, 2023, and authorizing the city manager to execute said change order number 3.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Mr.
Thank you. I was wondering if someone might explain why these pumps are so critically important and obviously involve a lot of money, almost $8 million. But I suspect Mr. Moore's going to tell us they're pretty essential to the equation.
Yeah, the Commissioners, the key word in this is the primary effluent pumps. They are the first pumps when everything flows to the wastewater plant via gravity. These are the pumps that pump them through the treatment system. The pumps that were replaced had been there just over 30 years. They lasted much longer than we expected, actually. And this, we anticipate, could take us another 35 to 50 years into the future.
Keep the sewer system working.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone in the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a plat agreement, subdivision development between the city and Zuber Crossing LLC for North Bechtel Square, Section 5, and authorizing the city manager, law director, and finance director to do all things necessary to implement the said plat agreement subdivision development.
Move to adopt.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission?
Just want to explain this. That's fine.
Yeah, this is just a standard plat agreement. The property has been platted into parcels and then they're putting in the infrastructure. So we typically have plat agreements in place. That way, if work is not performed or completed, there's assurances that we can go back on to complete.
Anyone else? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into amendment number 2 to the subrecipient funding agreement with Neighborhood Housing Partnership of Greater Springfield Incorporated to increase the agreement in an amount not to exceed $100,000 for a total amount not to exceed $275,000 and to extend the period of performance to March 31, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
And moved and seconded. Questions or comments?
Could somebody speak to this increase, please? Again?
Yes. Shannon, would you like to?
I sure can. So staff is recommending this increase because of the performance that NHP has had in what we traditionally call the emergency repair program throughout the city. They received an initial allocation of $175,000 and did some great work. There is significant need. There's about 60 people on a waiting list right now. And so we feel that it is a very good investment with our community to continue this partnership.
Anyone else? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
I'm going to abstain from this just simply because I wasn't in the room.
Thank you. Mr. O'Neill? I already called your name. I'm sorry. I lost track.
Want me to say yes again?
Yes, that would be fine.
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Did I get everybody that time?
Yeah.
And authorizing the city manager to enter into amendment number 1 to the subrecipient funding agreement with Springfield City School District for the school-based health clinic to extend the period of performance to December 31, 2003, and confirming and approving related expenditures incurred from September 1, 2023 to the passage of this ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission?
Could you speak to this, please?
Yes, so this is a commitment that the city has made as part of a partnership with Springfield City School District to help in the establishment of their school-based health clinic at their high school campus. This is specifically related to the design of this project, extending the completion date so that we can put our money towards that design project. They are very close to being finalized. They're actually out for bid right now, and hopefully we'll be moving forward with construction in 2024, in which we will most likely bring another item before you to assist or help in the construction of the school-based clinic as well.
Anyone else?
Yes. I just want to say that I was at a meeting today involving education in this community, and one of the important outcomes of that meeting was an agreement by all the individuals and organizations involved, and there were many, that in order for our children to be successful, we're going to have to provide the services that go beyond the traditional school setting. With the poverty rate in this community facing our children and the families of our children, there are many needs. Basic health, be it physical or mental health, is critical to the success of our children. So from my perspective, this is a good investment in the future of this community, our children. Thank you.
Anyone else? Clerk will call the roll. Wait a second. Did you want to speak?
You have questions about this clinic?
Yeah.
I heard it on the last meeting 2 weeks ago. I'm sorry, I'm Melissa Skinner. But I'm at a loss, though, on why we need to build a clinic onto our high school. I don't really understand it. We have government health care that for children that are in poverty, they would have health care. Parents would take their children to the doctor or urgent care. So I'm at a little loss of what we need a clinic for when parents are provided health care, whether it's the Rocking Horse or other things. I'm a little lost on this clinic. I don't understand why we're taking.
Yes, specifically if you asked any healthcare professional, access is a challenge right now, specifically around primary care. And so this clinic provides that access, more direct access, specifically for the kids, the children in our community that maybe do not have that access because the lack that exists within the community. And it's not just a Springfield problem, it's across the board, that access to primary care support, mental health support, dental, it's a challenge. So having this
Doctors and the physicians and stuff that we have here in Springfield aren't able to provide that care.
we do not have enough providers specifically around primary care in our community. And Rocking Horse is helping, and Rocking Horse is going to be a partner in this facility as well.
And the parents are going to have full control of every decision that happens with their children that's there.
Yes, correct.
Okay, because I'm afraid if the issue one gets voted yes instead of no, there is going to be some things that these clinics are going to be able to control over our children. And I don't have any children in school anymore. I just have grandchildren, and thank God they're in a Christian school in another city. But if that issue passes, then some of these parental rights are going to be taken away from these parents, and some of these clinics can make decisions for our children. So, I mean, hopefully people are aware of that, and it just sort of scares me that we're headed in that direction. So I just wanted to clarify why now in this day and age we're having to have clinics, because I didn't know there was a shortage with doctors and so forth that can take care of those children, and we do have a mental health service. So I would think that we could develop those a little bit higher versus having to build a clinic.
Thank you for your comments. I think that the need has increased so much that this will actually serve the kids way better. Dr. Estrop's already spoken to that. But
I do
and you
definitely
can-
want to add that every day I see students that do not have glasses, that do not have access. And again, I'm sure Ms. Daniels can speak to that. Those are some of the basic needs that our kids are faced with in Springfield City Schools, that we are just not seeing being met. And we provide all kinds of services already to try to encourage those things. We have so much outreach to parents, but we're still missing that mark. So this will definitely come into play with the ability, and there's nothing that Springfield City Schools can do without parent permission. And I say that as a Springfield City School District Administrator. So nothing moves without a parent.
Diana Daniels, 40 Hedgley Road. Somebody who was up here lost this. I picked it up. So is this yours, my friend? This was dropped up here by somebody. Okay, well, it's not mine because it doesn't go with my outfit. Sorry. You knew that was coming. Question. You and I are on the same page in terms of our needs for our children, having spent 30 years in Springfield City Schools, but why all of a sudden has this become an issue now and not 2 years ago?
It wasn't.
Not done reclaiming my time. Reclaiming my time.
Definitely respect that. Thank you, and I apologize.
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. We don't know, but it's possible that we could have between 4 and 10,000 new residents. We heard the report 8 weeks ago from Rocking Horse. Yeah? Yes. the overwhelming number and need and how long it takes to get services at Rocking Horse. So 2 years ago, not so bad. Now all of a sudden, I'm not questioning the need. I'm just questioning why.
I can answer to the 2-year thing. This project has been in the planning process for over 3 years. And it's taken that amount of
It has
time
taken that amount of time.
to plan, design, and construct.
really need it.
Thank
With
you.
10,000 new residents.
From the Student Services Department, and that's the department I serve in, there has been this ongoing need, well before 3 years, because we also have another clinic at the School of Innovation that operates as well as something that someone can go into and be able to see practitioners. So we wanted to build off of that at the School of Innovation, which is why we're adding the additional clinic at the high school. So nothing has happened within our community that's making this need arise. The need was already there, and we've been working to address that need. And I can speak to that because I am in that department.
Was there someone over here who wanted to speak? Yes.
I would like to once again mention that I appreciate everyone's interest. So many of the things that have been brought up tonight to the commission are things that they have no control over and are other aspects of government that should have been dealt with sooner. And I don't know that everyone here has been aware of that. Is there information or maybe a program that the commission can put together that explains the steps of government so that people aren't surprised when things happen and they have a better grasp of information when they come to speak and have questions? Because I think that's where we're having an issue sometimes. There's a breakdown in communication because I may or may not agree with what they're saying, but these decisions were made, like they're saying, this plan was in the works years ago. That's how long government takes. So if we want to be involved, we need to start sooner. How can we make this more accessible so people understand that?
Thank you. Anyone else?
If we needed all the Chris Anderkin, 1140 White Oak Drive, Springfield, Ohio. I don't understand why we have such a problem now with the problem with having health care for the kids. We didn't have it before. I mean, we had it before, not as bad as we do now. Now it's worse. I mean, the lady from Rockin' Horse Center told us the first meeting that we had after the accident at Northwestern, she gave us all the information that we needed, all the statistics, everything, and it's got worse. What have we done about that? Anything?
With 98% of the students eligible for free and reduced price lunch, in 2015, when I was superintendent, we had a problem providing medical care for all those children living in poverty. The extent of poverty in this community was so great that the United States Department of Agriculture, that runs the free and reduced price breakfast and lunch program, said it's cheaper and better for us to give all children in Springfield a free meal because it will save us money and time as opposed to processing all the paperwork from 98% of the students in this community. The need has been apparent for some time. It's not a new need. Poverty has been an issue in this community since I arrived here in 2009. And unfortunately, I have to report to you that the poverty rate has risen. It has not declined. It has grown since I arrived in 2009.
Why?
You want to say something else?
One more question. This is coming from like people that can't be here right now, want me to ask questions for them. Was it in the paper that we're allowing the immigrants coming to our city to have a 15-year property tax where they don't have to pay that before That is-
I don't think we mind hearing your comment, but this has nothing to do with this particular vote. Your comment's fine towards the end of the evening for comments, but this one has nothing to do. Your comment doesn't have anything to do with this, so we'd like to hear it at a different point.
Listen, after we finish voting on all this stuff, we will give people an opportunity to speak about other things they want to.
Thank you.
Anybody else on this issue? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mrs. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Rue,
Yes.
Dr. Estrop,
Yes.
Mr. Copeland.
Yes.
Confirming purchases and the obtaining of services for the city and providing for payments therefore.
Jill, we need to go back and
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
we have
sorry,
not
I
done
missed
the 241-23.
I'm sorry.
True.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a new construction affordable rental housing agreement, home funded in 2023, Rose Commons, with Rose Commons Limited Partnership, provide $800,000 in home funds to assist in the redevelopment of 1315 West High Street.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Dr. Estrop,
Yes.
Mr. Rue,
Yes.
Mrs. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mr. Copeland.
Yes.
Okay, now we'll do this.
Now we can get it.
Confirming purchases and the obtaining of services for the city and providing for payments therefore and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Rue,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mrs. Brown,
Yes.
Dr. Estrop,
Yes.
Mr. Copeland.
Yes.
Providing for supplemental appropriations within various funds and declaring it an emergency therein.
Move to
So
adopt.
moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mrs. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Rue,
Yes.
Dr. Estrop,
Yes.
Mr. Copeland.
Yes.
Confirming and approving change order number 1 to the contract between the city and Garber Electrical Contractors Incorporated for the installation of a structured cabling system and closed-circuit camera system at the South Limestone Street Fire Station to increase the contract in an amount not to exceed $15,198 for a total amount not to exceed $107,443 and authorizing the city manager to execute said change order number 1 and declaring it an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Mr. Estrop?
I do have a question. This particular item, we actually have two of them with the same number, 189-23A and 189-23B. And I was wondering why we had two change orders.
Yes, commissioners, I'll have Jason By answer that question.
Good evening, and thank you for your question. So I'll answer these a little bit out of order. Change order 2 with Garber Electric for $16,898. That is to provide the installation of owner-provided door access hardware and cabling for the entire South Limestone Fire Station facility, and that's all the interior and exterior doors there to include compartmentalizing the Clark State side of that building. The second piece of that is to encompass prevailing wage as part of that construction project.
Okay, thank you very much.
Anybody else? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Dr. Estrop,
Yes?
Mr. Rue,
Yes.
Mrs. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Copeland.
Yes.
Confirming and approving change order number 2 to the contract between the city and Garber Electrical Contractors Incorporated for the installation of a structured cabling system and closed-circuit camera system at the South Limestone Street Fire Station to increase the contract in an amount not to exceed $16,898 for a total amount not to exceed $124,341, authorizing the city manager to execute said change order number 2 and declaring it an emergency therein.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? I drive by that station almost every day, and I'm sure glad to see it keep going up and up. Anyone else? Clerk will call the roll.
Dr. Estra,
Yes.
Mrs. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill.
Yes.
Mr. Rue, Mr. Copeland.
Yes.
Confirming and approving change order number 2. To the contract between the city and Garber Electrical Contractors Incorporated for the installation of a structured cabling system and closed-circuit camera system at the National Advanced Air Mobility Center of Excellence, NOMCE, to increase the contract in an amount not to exceed $31,413 for a total amount not to exceed $276,628, authorizing the city manager to execute said change order number 2 and declaring it an emergency therein.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estra?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Confirming and approving change order number 1 to the contract between the city and A&B Asphalt Corporation for the Durr Road paving project to decrease the contract in an amount not to exceed $328,489.89 for a total contract amount not to exceed $1,508,866.60, authorizing the city manager to execute said change order number 1 and declaring it an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions and comments from the commission?
Yes, I do. It's my first.
decreases.
How can you beat this?
I love
We got the road done. We got it done early and for less money. And we had the city manager out there throwing cones away to open the road up. How can you get any better than that?
That's good.
Anything else from commissioners? Anyone in the audience want to speak to this? Clerk will call the roll.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estra?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Confirming and approving change order number 1 to the contract between the city and Majors Enterprises Incorporated for the 2023 miscellaneous water line replacement project to decrease the contract in an amount not to exceed $174,546.31 for a total contract amount not to exceed $1,123,181.76, authorizing the city manager to execute said change order number 1 and declaring it an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission?
Yet another decrease.
What?
Another decrease.
And beat it.
Change order to
That's all you wanted to
decrease.
talk
That's all I
about?
wanted to say.
Okay. Anybody else?
Chris Moore's doing a great job.
Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estra?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Confirming and approving change order number 2 to the contract between the city and Outdoor Enterprises LLC for the Yellow Spring Street Reconstruction Phase 1 project PID number 109491 to decrease the contract in an amount not to exceed $48,454.34 for a total contract amount not to exceed $3,753,937.32, authorizing the city manager to execute said change order number 2 and declaring it an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission?
Another decrease.
Another decrease.
Another decrease.
You're slowing us down. You know that? Anyone in the audience want to
Good
speak
news.
to that?
And a muff.
Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Dr. Estra?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Confirming and approving change order number 1 to the contract between the city and Sterling Quality Concrete LLC for the 2023 Sidewalk Curb and Gutter Program Phase 1 to decrease the contract in an amount not to exceed $40,013 for a total amount not to exceed $265,362.50, authorizing the city manager to execute said change order number 1 and declaring it an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Confirming and approving change order number 9 to the contract between the City and Structural Systems Repair Group, LLC, for the water treatment plant concrete repairs and wastewater treatment plant secondary clarifiers and effluent diversion concrete repair to increase the contract in an amount not to exceed $48,141.45 for a total amount not to exceed $3,945,584.07, authorizing the city manager to execute said change order number 9 and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Confirming and approving change order number 10 to the contract between the City and Structural Systems Repair Group, LLC, for the water treatment plant concrete repairs and wastewater treatment plant secondary clarifiers and effluent diversion concrete repair to increase the contract in an amount not to exceed $40,633.64 for a total amount not to exceed $3,986,217.71, authorizing the city manager to execute said change order number 10 and declaring an emergency therein.
Adopt.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Okay, my computer can't catch up with me here. Authorizing the city manager to enter into an addendum to the Community-Based Corrections Subsidy Grant Agreement for fiscal year 2024 and fiscal year 2025 Community Corrections Program by and between the city and the State of Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Correction, Division of Parole and Community Services, Bureau of Community Sanctions to increase the grant in an amount of $15,379 for a total grant amount of $322,963, authorizing the city manager, finance director, and court administrator of the municipal court to do all things necessary to implement said grant agreement and to comply with all relevant local, state, and federal legal requirements and declaring it an emergency therein.
So moved.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into amendment number 1 to the contractual agreement by and between the city and the Board of Health of the Clark County Combined Health District to allow unused funds to be retained and used for program expenses until depleted, authorizing the city manager, finance director, and court administrator of the municipal court to do all things necessary to implement said contractual agreement and to comply with all relevant local, state, and federal legal requirements, confirming and approving related expenditures and services provided from August 1, 2023, and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Authorizing the fiscal officer to create super blanket purchase orders as authorized in resolution number 6152 to increase Jones Chemical Incorporated in the amount of $24,050 and to increase Alloway in the amount of $7,000 and declaring it an emergency therein.
Adopt.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
And that's the end of our agenda items.
Could we give our clerk a recognition? She has to read all that stuff. Thank you. Okay. Are there other items that come before us from commissioners?
Just want to remind everyone that early voting for the November election starts tomorrow. And you can vote in person out at the Springview Board of Elections offices. There are many critical things on the ballot. We heard about one tonight, the United Senior Services levy, but there are several other levies of importance on the ballot, a couple constitutional amendments, as well as other things. So I want to encourage everybody, as a former social studies teacher, we unfortunately take for granted in this country our opportunity to get out and vote and make decisions as citizens of this nation. And boy, I just can't encourage people enough to get out and vote and make sure your opinion is heard at the ballot box. Thank you very much.
Anything else from commissioners? Okay, we have some cards that people have filled out who want to speak. If you have not filled out a card and want to speak, you need to come up here and get a card. Otherwise, we won't call on you.
Thank you. Diane Daniels is going to be our first speaker. She was missed in the last meeting, so if she'll speak 4 minutes, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rue.
You're welcome.
It's hard for me. I have a question for you, Mr. Rue. How are you coming with your interviews of employers?
Does this have to do with your comment?
It does.
Okay.
Making progress? Maybe. All right, I'll get back to you. All right. So first of all, what I'd like to address is, is there anybody here from the Springfield News Sun Rag? The toilet paper newspaper. Anybody here? I didn't think so.
Oh, she's right here.
She is? Okay, good. I want to talk to you. Okay? Because I have been trying to get in touch with the Springfield News Sun for 8 weeks to no avail. Because every time I see an article...
Diana, I hate to interrupt you, but you need to address the commission only and not anybody sitting in the audience.
Okay, I'm not addressing her. I'm just saying. All right, I got
You
you.
can talk to her after the meeting.
I'm going to talk to her after the meeting.
Great.
Good.
So,
Here's what the issue is. When I see things in the newspaper that are addressed, the disconnect is here. The first meeting that was very raucous was the disconnect. You had people who were upset because of the lack of information. It had nothing to do, and very little to do, with the fact that it was a protest against a particular group. It had to do with the angst and the way it occurred. Those people are never coming back here. And they are going to deal with the issue at the ballot box. They're never coming back. I'm just telling you.
that's okay.
And that's okay. You're right.
Tell them to feel free to vote against me, okay?
Well, you're not running, are you?
I'm not running again.
Stop. You're killing me. So the point is this. The disconnect is still there. The opening statement that I made to you the very first night when the riot nearly occurred in Richmond, north of McCray, that was a feeling. It's true. It's there. I have worked on the south end of town all my life. These are my folks. And the disconnect was then evidenced in the outburst that you heard. Folks, the folks who were angry were seeing things that they wanted or felt that they should be getting that was going to someone else. Full grocery carts, rides to jobs, rides to wherever. The vans all over town. You didn't see it, but we did. I followed them. The match was the unfortunate incident. That was the match. We're still seeking answers. And believe me, the folks who were here that were upset will do nothing negative to an NESR. That's a non-English speaking resident. Neither will I and neither will them. We are not going to be preached to. with Bible verses and examples of previous immigration. No, we're not going to do that. This is not Springfield. They were upset that they were seeing things that, what is happening? That's what you heard. And then the disconnect of being yelled at, they're not coming back. I think that's sad. That they don't feel comfortable coming in here. Yeah, they got a little out of hand, but they were also called racist. And that's not true.
Could you wrap up, please?
I am going to wrap up.
Good.
Okay? So I'm just hoping that we can get some more answers. And the next time I will read a little piece from 2014 from the Global Network called Welcome Springfield, and I'll give you the full details next time.
I think we'll take a pause here real quick because Brian did not report on any of the meetings he's had with the accountability group. And so we'd like to hear that on a regular basis, if that's possible.
Yeah, I'll start with the employment side. So we continue to work with other agencies in looking into the employment-related matters and issues. So those conversations and dialogues are still ongoing. As far as the driver's license, the education and so forth, we actually have been in constant communication with DPS, which is Department of Public Safety, and the Ohio BMV. Actually, there's a meeting tomorrow involving folks from those two agencies, and again, trying to address the education gaps that exist within Ohio's driver's license system. And so we're trying to address those matters as well. And then also looking into housing-related concerns that have been brought forward
Good.
from the community.
I'm hoping that we're getting the things straightened out for our Haitians that have been abused. I'm hopeful it's not ongoing, but it was pretty god awful. And thank you for addressing that, because I get goosebumps knowing what I know and knowing that now you're going to help them. Thank you.
Thanks, Diane. And I'm sorry I didn't understand your question when you said in the beginning when you asked about it. So Brian, thank you for clarifying that. Next speaker, Sherry Booth. Sherry, you go to a microphone, and then Chris Anderkin, if you want to go to this microphone and hold there for a moment. We'll let Miss Sherry go first.
Sherry Booth, 150 South Light Street. It still upsets me to hear the people talking about my Haitian brothers and sisters. The lady that sat here last week wanted to give us a history, some kind of lesson, English lesson, whatever. Do you understand these people are from third world? A lot of these people don't even have a toilet. They're used to using a bathroom in a hole, so they don't even know what toilet paper is. What you see in Walmart is them washing themselves after they use the bathroom. Why we think they're strange, they think we're strange because we don't take care of ourselves like they do after the bathroom. And then I know we're supposed to address the commission, but the
Please.
lady over here with
Just if you could address us only,
the
please.
lady with the petition, I thought it was, you say it's not racism, but here's why we
Ma'am,
think it
I
is.
really,
Here's
just
why
your
I think
comments
it
have
is.
to be
I got
towards,
you.
I
Here's why
respect
we
you, but
think
you
it
just
is.
have to make your comments.
When your
this way.
special forces came in town, they only hit the Southwest and the West End. Not one, I did not see in the paper where they went to one all-white bar. They targeted us, so how are we not going to think it's racism? And then for you to ask City Commissioner Brown now to sign your petition, well, I have a petition I would like her to sign.
I appreciate it, ma'am.
Since the union
Ma'am.
and the machine shop is,
Ma'am,
since it's not
Ma'am.
allowed black people in
Ma'am,
here,
you have to
I
address
have
the
a
commission.
petition
It's a
I'd like you to
nationality
sign to
issue.
get it
It's a nationality
regulated.
issue.
I'm done.
You're
Thank
making
you.
it into something else.
ma'am,
Yeah, you are.
hey, Chris, I'm not going to call you. You guys cannot argue. And Diana, please don't raise that card again. Thank you. Okay, we needed, the only reason we want to have order in the room is so everybody has an equal opportunity to be heard. When there's chaos and confusion, that keeps us from hearing what you need to say. When you are yelling and when you're being disruptive, your voice and what you want to say is actually being dulled. So we need you to keep order so we can hear you. That's it. So it's actually out of respect that we want everybody to remain calm and say what they need to say. Does that sound all right? Your comments must address the commissioners only and not anybody in the room. If you address people in the room, you have to be asked to leave, okay? Does everybody understand that? Excellent. Go ahead, Chris.
Okay, back to the question that I had earlier about what was seen in the paper from my friends that couldn't be here today about the 15 years of not having to pay tax for buying a home that the commissioner supposedly agreed on. Is that a true statement?
What they are referring to is a CRA program, our community reinvestment area. So about 3/4 of the city is blanketed in what's called a CRA, which is established by the state of Ohio, ORC, and that allows new construction homes to qualify for 15-year 100% abatement and remodel, renovation. What's that?
Who qualifies for that?
Any citizens of the community.
It's a Community Reinvestment Act, which means we.
Yeah, the homeowner or property owner is who's eligible for that.
Okay. They're income based?
No.
Home ownership.
Home ownership. So new construction, 15-year, 100% abatement. Renovation is 12 years, 100%.
It's anybody that wants to purchase a home.
Anybody that purchases a home, builds a new home that's within our CRA, which again, it blankets about 3/4 of the city, can apply actually through the city manager's office. Bobby Bruno manages that program for us.
It's the CRA program?
Yeah, community reinvestment area.
The whole idea is that we would encourage people to reinvest in their properties and to purchase here and reinvest in those existing properties. That's it. That's the reason.
Or builders to build new homes.
Yeah, or new home. Do you have anything else? You still had some time.
Okay, yes. I would also like to know if I can see any public transcripts on the incident that happened at St. Bernard's Church where my brother's girlfriend's mom actually takes the investments, takes the money from the church and takes it to the bank. She called 911 over some people that were coming towards her and went back in the church, and they actually went to the maintenance guy in the church, picked some people that wasn't from our nationality out of there, and screwed the basement windows shut to keep them from getting in there again because they were like living in the basement of there. So do we have any public transcripts of that?
Chris, I'll get with you right after the meeting and get a date and stuff, and then whatever records we have, we certainly would turn that,
Absolutely.
a
That'd be
copy
great.
of that.
Yep.
Thank you, Chris. Melissa? And then Jolene will speak at this mic.
I'm Melissa Skinner. I live on Grant Street here in Springfield. Mr. Heck, I do have a question for you. As far as what the city spends on like trips and budgets and stuff through the city, I'm sure there's an open report that people can look at that. I'm just sort of curious where to find that.
Yeah, so travel and training is something, if you have a public records request, yep, that is all available and you can
So-
see that.
Is that just something online or is that something we can request from you?
You just request through our legal department and they
okay.
provide public records.
I already talked my thing about the clinic. The other thing that I would like to address is the panhandling through our city. I know in other areas, you'll see signs on the side of the highways as you enter into their city that panhandling is not allowed. Again, this afternoon, I seen the man on Bechtel in 41 walking through the city streets selling his roses. There's going to be an accident. Either he's going to get hit or he's going to cause an accident. I've seen his wife over there a couple times. I'm in and out of my shop that is located on Bechtel. There's going to be an accident. If you call the city police department, unfortunately, they're short-staffed and he doesn't listen to stay out of the street. He's not just standing on the side of the road. They're leaving trash behind as they are panhandling on the corners. We have enough trash. I think Mr. Heck even said something about that. Our city's full of trash. I drove through other cities throughout the weekend, and I wonder why Springfield can't be like that. We have plenty of trash cans throughout our community. And so I just feel like there's something maybe that we can do as a city or a city commission to help with that. It's a little out of hand. I feel like our homeless problem is out of control. I find that in the area that I own a business, there was days, months ago, I was actually locking my door during the day and putting a note on my door saying we are open for business, but you're going to have to knock, because we had so much heavy traffic and people were acting crazy in the area that I own a business. I did not come to a meeting because things with my schedule was not real great, and then the bus accident happened, and that was not a time to come and try to address things. But I know that we've had 2 hotels that we purchased. One unfortunately just got tore down. The other one, I'm being told, is housing some families. What can we do to help this problem? We need to be a commission and a community that we're solving these problems. And I know it's not going to happen overnight, but as a local business owner on Bechtel, it is very alarming and very concerning that I feel like I can't keep my doors unlocked between 9 to 5 for the
Melissa,
safety of
thank
my
you for your
staff.
comments. We appreciate it. We invite you to come back in 2 weeks. Jolene, if you'd like to speak from this microphone, and then I have Darla Bunker.
I think
So, you have to
Bill-
pardon me, I have, oh, good.
I wanted to answer a question that was raised by the last speaker. I don't believe we can outlaw panhandling in the city. I recall there's either an Ohio or a U.S. Supreme Court case that said panhandling was protected under the First Amendment rights of free speech. Am I remembering this correctly?
Correct. So you cannot declare panhandling to be illegal. There's constitutional First Amendment rights to freedom of speech.
So we're sort of have our hands tied by was it the Ohio or U.S. Supreme Court?
There was, I know, Ohio cases definitely, and even in the city of Dayton, there were cases as well.
So if this is going on in other communities, they are clearly violating the law if they've outlawed panhandling, because we cannot do it, nor should any other city, at least in this state.
Okay, and I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice, so please bear with me.
State your name and address for the record, please.
Jolene Keaton. My address is pretty much null and void right now because I was approached yesterday by a non-speaking or non-English speaking member of the community now, one of our new residents, that apparently purchased my home. I was not aware. No one told me until yesterday morning. And this gentleman came up and put a 3-day notice on my door. I've been a resident there for 6 years. And the notice was supposed to be, or when they sold the house, it was supposed to be, I stay there as a resident because I have been there so long. He did not speak English. But he came up and told me I have 3 days. 3 days. To move out of my home. But he could not speak English to tell me. So I have a family. My husband, my daughter. I pay my rent. I pay my bills and I work like everybody else. Has nothing to do with race. I love everyone. Nothing at all. But I sit here and I listen. We have petitions for assisting the elderly, which is great. We have petitions for helping our children, which is great. I love every one of those things. But the main group, the middle group that work every day, that bust their butts every day to maintain a home, to maintain a family, I'm getting pushed out of my home by someone that can't speak my language and doesn't know the law and doesn't know the rules of what an eviction is or what communication is, because he can't tell me. It's not his fault. He just doesn't know. But I want to know where the resources are for us, because I don't get rental assistance
my $15 an hour, I make too much. $15 an hour is not a lot. And I've held my job for 10 years, and that's what I make right now. I took a pay cut because my employer had to outsource the company I work for overseas. I had to take a pay cut of a fourth of what I made. And now on top of that, I'm being asked to leave my home by someone that can't communicate this to me.
So
He can't.
can I ask a clarifying question?
Please.
So I assume the person that purchased the home is just communicating the fact that they've purchased the home from the previous, which was a landlord, right?
He was not a very nice person.
Right.
He called-
No justification there. I'm just saying the person that came up to your door was the new owner of your house, right? That's what you're saying.
Correct. But
And they purchased something from somebody, your landlord.
yeah, he purchased it last month.
So the real issue or the real sadness, I'll just speak personally, the real sadness is that pretty much your home, your rental home was sold out from underneath your nose without any communication from the landlord. Is that right?
Yes, last
Okay.
month, I found out that she had sold the home.
Yeah.
And I asked her, I need his contact information. He never provided that to me. He never relayed that to me until yesterday morning at 11 o'clock. Is when I first met him. And when he told me I did not pay rent to him last month, which I did, I paid it to my old landlord. But that's not the point.
No,
My point is we're getting pushed out of this community. I was born here. I was born in Community Hospital when it still stood on High Street.
I want to be compassionate here. Your time is up, but we want to be that you be able to talk to Shannon, one of our staff members, to maybe give you some help and guidance in your next steps. Okay? Thank you for bringing this issue up. I'm really sorry.
Hang in there, Jolene. I'm sorry.
Super unfortunate. Darla Bunker?
My name is Darla Bunker. I live 2507 Hilldale Road. I want to clarify my petition. My petition is for people to understand English before they get a driver's license. Our signs are in English. Everything's in English. I ask you, Ms. Brown, to sign it because you were the one available down here. You had a different opinion. Fine. Your opinions wasn't really go with, because you can't put an interpreter with the driver at all times, and the GPS is not going to stop and say, hey, you need to stop for this bus. This petition has nothing to do with race, not one thing. It started because of the bus accident when that small child got killed, and everybody in this room should be very outraged over that. You should be outraged even more that people are driving on our roads that don't understand English. I don't know what's so hard about that to get. People start saying racist. It says, no, it's not racist. You guys need to
Please
think
address the
about it.
commission.
I'm sorry.
I need you to address the commission only.
This petition is for people to speak English and understand English before you get a driver's license. It's that simple. It doesn't matter what race you are. It doesn't matter nothing. If you could be born and raised right here in Springfield. If you don't understand English, I don't care if you're white, black, I don't care. Purple, brown, I don't care. Can't speak it, don't understand it, don't get a license. Plain and simple. Talk to DeWine's office. I need 1,000 signatures. I'm up to 400. I need 600 more. If any of you guys on the commission want to sign it, great. If you have a different opinion, great. But don't tell me an interpreter or a GPS, because that's not going to work. Just not going to work.
Tell us again what the petition says.
It says, it's Aiden's law of the little boy that got killed. Petition to change the law. All licensed drivers must speak and understand English. Must be a registered voter. It doesn't say Asian or whatever, because you can come from Japan. I work for Japanese people. A lot of them don't understand English.
Just so you know, we don't have anything to do with that.
No, you don't. But I'm just saying, if you want to, that would be fine.
Fine.
Could I ask a question? Because
Yeah,
I want to make sure I understand what you just read to me. Could you read it again, please?
Aiden's Law. That's what I'm trying to get. Petition to change the law because obviously you can get a license without understanding English. All licensed drivers must speak and understand English. What's so hard about that?
Well, because we have visitors who come from foreign
Yes, we do.
countries, and they hold license and are able to drive
And that's-
as tourists here. So I'm worried that you would exclude tourists who are driving
Anybody don't understand
legitimately.
English.
I just visited a foreign country and drove
Thank you for your
there,
comments.
and my Ohio driver's license was good for a specified number of days. Now, did it also say you had to be a citizen?
Registered voter.
Registered voter. So
Sign the
somebody
petition.
who chooses not to register to vote can't drive in this state.
She's stating to sign the petition.
Oh, to sign the petition.
Yes.
I misunderstood. I
If you
thought
were
you were
out
saying.
driving in another country and you would have had an accident, what would have happened to you, do you think? You think
I
they'd have
would
just
have
slapped your
been-
hand and put you in jail for 12 months if you killed somebody?
You know, I would have had legal protection behind me because in this country, and I don't know what the specific law is, but tourists drive rent-a-cars all the time in this country. And to say that we're not going to allow that in Ohio is to really do a number on our tourism business.
What if it's your grandchild that comes up dead?
Well, you know, that
That would probably
accident
change something,
is,
don't you think?
that accident, as you said, was horrible.
Yep.
But I think your solution has events and consequences that go beyond what you're originally thinking.
And that's your opinion, and I respect that opinion.
Thank you.
Thank you. Your time is up. Appreciate it. That's all the cards I have. That's the end of our comments. I have one statement to read. It deserves to be the end of the night, and I would ask that one of the commissioners would call for adjournment after this. This statement was sent to me by an email. I'm just going to read it as it was sent to me. In quotes, "We do not want our son's name to be associated with the hate that's being spewed in these meetings. Please do not mix up the values of our family with the uninformed majority that vocalize their hate. Aiden embraced different cultures and would insist you do the same. Thank you to the community for your continued support. Sincerely, Nathan and Danielle Clark."
Over adjourn.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?